So AudioLock. My background is I used to be a professional DJ and producer back in the 90s, so very much was into sort of music. But previously I was studying aerospace systems engineering with thermofluid dynamics, and that's where the geeky sort of side came from before then. And ended up then getting into sort of various sort of technical roles that sort of gave me enterprise sort of skills, and I realised a lot of my friends were still being screwed over by piracy, and wait a minute, there's something I could do about this. So that's why I formed AudioLock. So you can say we're at the sexy end of the music business. So then, a little bit of background. I'm going to talk about how we actually do use big data to fight piracy, but let's actually find out exactly what piracy is first. Stephen Fellows talked a little earlier about sort of film and big data, and he sort of touched upon a couple of the items to do with how piracy actually does affect industries. And you quite often hear people like the British phonographic industry putting out information saying, you know, piracy doesn't really affect sales. Well, we've got a huge amount of data which really does contradict that. So we'll give you a couple of examples of that as we go through anyway. So piracy, if you wanted to be a pirate, this is how to do it. Please try not to actually do it. You just need to get a file. Ideally, you want to get any file which is in demand or desirable. You then upload it to a cyber locker. Good examples of legitimate ones are Dropbox and Google Drive, which I'm sure you're all aware of. But there are about 600 ones which do sort of work on the pirate side, even though they do look legitimate, which we'll come across in a second. So what you then need to do is to get yourself that link that you want to then use to share it. So a link you can get around to absolutely anyone. They download it, they get the piece of content. Very, very simple. So you want to share that as best you can to as many people as you possibly can. And then by doing that, what happens is when you're actually downloading that content, you're shown, say, adverts, or your speed is restricted and you can only download one pirate file at a time, those sorts of things. So they encourage you to buy a premium sort of option on the cyberblocker itself. So that's where the money comes from, advertising and the premium side. So here's an example of a cyberlocker. As it tells you here very nicely, keep your moments on file, and it goes through pages sort of showing how you can save your family sort of photos and little videos of your kids and things like that. All the moments of your life, you can save them here. Looks very professional, looks very good, and in fact, it goes on to say that it's Swiss-made and very proud of that fact as well. However, if you go into the pirate forums in the darker side of the web, you find this information, which says that if as a pirate you upload content onto them and you get 1,000 downloads of that link, they'll pay you 60 euros. So you get yourself a film, you break it up into several RAR files, you upload all of those RAR files, get yourselves those links, push it out through forums and web blogs, wherever else you can, you're being paid 60 euros for every 1,000 downloads. So very quickly, a little bit of maths here shows that you can easily make 39,000 euros a year. And I can tell you a lot of musicians don't make anywhere near that, and quite often it's in the negative. So it is big money, and they are making a lot of money out of it. Usually when you get to this point with conferences that I do, talking to artists and record labels, suddenly everyone starts paying a lot of attention. And it is ridiculous the amount they are actually making out of these. The problem is as well that this is someone sort of potentially they could do this manually and actually spend time in it. But anyone with access to the internet is also going to do a quick little course on learning how to use PHP or something like that, and they can actually start doing this automatically, because all of these cyberlockers all have APIs and things so that you can generate this kind of link and disseminate it around the web all automatically as well. So how do we actually stop pirates? So we've come on to the way that they're actually doing it. But the way to stop it is most people are finding their content through search engines. I'm sure there's one we're all thinking of. And 94% of people don't go past page one. So this is just one of the things that we do to try and resolve it. The Google Transparency Report is an online report you can go and have a look at, and you can see the vast number of URLs that are sent for removal. So it's just over 25 million here sent in the whole time that Google's been doing this transparency report. And you can see that it's pretty much sort of hitting a bit of a plateau at the moment. But these are all by content owners, people like us, and there are, there's 2,342 reporting agencies like ourselves who are sending links to be removed from Google on a daily basis. So this is one way you can do it, because it means that then when you actually come to Google here, you can see this is Arctic Monkeys, the AM album, which is still actually doing quite well. Just type the word album and download after it. So those are the results that you got. Red's bad here, using my sort of visual graphics. So here you can see this is on YouTube, which looks great, but actually it's got then a direct download link in the description on the YouTube video, so you can download it there. These are then all pirate sites as well where you can download it. So if you were legitimately perhaps going to look and get hold of this album, you're straight away given a whole load of nasty pirate links. Roll on 24 hours, and we've cleared it all up. But on top of that, we've also brought in some additional shops where you can actually now go and purchase the item as well. So if you start to look at the fact that 94% of people don't go past page 1, this is someone searching for the content, now they can actually find it. And this makes a huge difference. To give you an idea, there's in the UK album chart at the moment, there's a column they have in the chart that says how many weeks it's been in that chart. There's 3 albums in the top 20 that are over 40 weeks now, having been in that chart. They're all ones protected by us. The nearest one to that is 9 weeks. So it makes a really big difference. So, anti-piracy really does solve a lot of problems for people. And quite often, for most artists and labels, it can be the difference between making a loss and actually making a profit. So by making a profit means they're putting more money into their marketing, they're putting more money into developers doing things on a website, doing design, all sorts of things. So it's certainly worthwhile from that point of view as well. So we send to Google, we send a lot of links to be removed. And if a quick comparison comes that if you're trying to fish in the sea and a fish is an illegal link, you want to have the biggest net possible so you can remove as many as you can to try and clear up the search engines. So this is a quick infographic, very pretty one, shows AudioLock at the top. We've got, by far, we cover the more websites than any of the other reporting associations who are involved with doing music. A lot of people, when we're talking to them, go, oh, it's all right. We have the British Phonographic Industry or the Recording Industry Association of America. They look after all of our anti-piracy. Do they? So we really do make a huge difference for people. And we love the fact that we have artists and labels. Whenever we go to the music conferences, all we get is love for them because they're suddenly finding they're making some money out of it. So many record labels, you talk to them and they actually release music knowing it's a lost leader. That they do that for free, basically. They're putting it out there at cost to themselves. So their artists then out going, say, doing DJing or doing live gigs and things. However, there's lots of artists I know that you wouldn't want to stick up on a stage because A, they'd only have one track to play, and the other thing, they're not that good to look at. So it's not going to be a very entertaining performance for anyone, so no one's going to come to it. So on to the big data part of it. So when pirates get their links, they don't just use one cyber locker like the Oboom one I was showing earlier. They will generate multiple links for each release. They'll turn a film into, say, 12 RAR files. So that's 12 links straight away. They'll have multiple copies of those, plus they have multiple cyber lockers. So they've got a lot of links, and then they will push them out by any means that they can. So they'll have their own blog, perhaps. They'll have some other people they work with and push it through their blog. Lots of forums. A lot of the pirate forums allow you just to sort of free post, create as many threads as you like for your release there. There's other sites you can push into which are premium sites. Now, these are a slightly different kind of site in that you have to pay to access them. So you're paying a monthly fee to get access to the pirate links. But usually these are links which are sort of less often taken down by the content owners as well. Twitter's being used more and more as well to sort of push out to various groups, and can be actually quite hard to get Twitter to sort of remove some of the sort of channels that that information is running through. Same with Facebook, that's being used more and more as well. Release groups, an interesting one. I'm sure a few people here have come across films perhaps online that they might have downloaded, and they see sort of certain words at the end of it, like sort of AXO is a sort of one of the older ones. But release groups basically try and get the content as early as possible, and they actually push it through things like the old IRC channel systems. So it goes out through the IRC chat network, gets downloaded and starts sort of disseminating those links around again. So there's all these different mechanisms, and all of them have different bits and pieces behind them. So you've got the web hosts, so you've got things like web hosts, you've got the content delivery networks, domain registrars, people protecting who's actually registering the domains. You've got payment gateways, which all go back to your Visa and MasterCards. You've got advertising networks providing money as well. Link protectors. Now, these are basically to try and stop us coming along and automatically finding a link and removing it. So they use things like captures, or they'll have a JavaScript bit to show a particular advert or something to try and generate more money as well. Then you've got all the cyber lockers, and then you've got all the social sites. So if you just suddenly think about how all of these sort of interplay together for each of those different sites I was talking about, like the blog sites, there's a huge network of connections between all of these different places. So what we do is we actually store this data, call as much of the information as we possibly can, and we use a bit of import.io to help us with this as well. But what it means, we can then actually identify which are the key players for a particular set of sites that we want to be able to remove. And once you've done that, it means that you get rid of one of those and you cripple that whole range of websites. And we've found this working to a great effect. We've been working for a sort of large American brand, and we've been targeting a whole range of websites that have been selling their content through premium sites. And we've been able to remove a vast number of those. So we're very, very pleased with the way that that's worked. And now we're sort of looking at this data. We're now analysing more and more of the social data. So we've now got sort of fire hose data coming in from Twitter, Facebook, and also things like Blogger as well. So by looking at all of that, a lot of the pirates use the sites like WordPress, I'm sure you're all familiar with that, and Blogger as well. So by getting all that information, we've actually managed to build ourselves not only a system that can, in real time, find links and actually remove them, but also gather this kind of information so that we can then pinpoint problems. And we can help them provide information to people like the National Fraud Intelligence Bureau so that they can just go and tackle particular people, and we know it's going to disrupt many of the sites. So how can we stop piracy? We were having a little chat at dinner last night, and Sally mentioned to me that she's a pirate. Hello, Sally. So she self-admitted that she has on occasion pirated. I will back it up by she did actually tell me why this occurs, and it's unfortunately very often the case is that you watch Game of Thrones season 1, end of the last episode of season 1, what does it do? It finishes on a cliffhanger. It's naturally, because of the marketing way, designed to make you desire episode 1 of series 2. And it's a very strong desire. So what does everyone do? Type into Google, you can't get it in the UK, it's only in the US, you can't get it from iTunes or anything else. There's no opportunity to buy it. But there's all of these download links on page 1 of Google. You click and it just comes and it's there. And so unfortunately, because of the way licensing and things work, it is a problem. But it's also very odd because it's the only sort of socially acceptable crime to talk about down at the pub with your mates. So part of this is actually educating people so that they do understand actually what is happening. I mean, when I used to be a professional DJ in the 90s, if I wanted to get a track before it was released in the UK, of course it was on vinyl at the time, I'd be paying £9 a pop for it without, worrying about that at all. Whereas now people are paying £1 for music from a download store, and they're going, that's too much. So again, it's part thinking about what does this mean to you? Put the value back into the music. And just trying to educate people. The same with labels and artists. There's been so much information. I mean, BPI again have put out news items in things like Music Week saying that the delisting in Google doesn't work. And we've very much got evidence to show that actually it's the most cost-effective and efficient way of getting rid of piracy, and it really does work for labels. So a lot of it, there's misinformation out there, which actually in reality you can do a lot for it. So how do we do the education? We use this man. This is Goldie, who yesterday has joined us as an ambassador. Goldie is a film actor, TV actor, presenter. He's into his art a lot as well, but is most well known for Metalheads, which is his drum and bass label, which started back in, I think it was the early 90s. So he's obviously very well known, and he's actually now backing us. So he's trying to push sort of the message out to people so that people take note of what we're saying and actually try using the services and just see how much of a difference it does make for them. So we've also got this guy, Judge Jules. He's on board as well. He's particularly good because he's obviously very well known, having been on Radio 1 for pretty much ever, sort of looking after the dance show on the Fridays. So he's a very well-known producer, he's a very well-known DJ, but the reason he's got this name is he's actually a lawyer as well. So he's now working as a lawyer in the UK, and he's particularly the company he's working for, they look after a lot of sort of musicians, a lot of film, a lot of TV kind of bits and pieces as well, games, that sort of side, so very much in the media. So he's a great guy to have on board as well. So with these ambassadors, and we've got a few others as well, they will help us to actually educate and get people to understand what the problems are out there. And we uniquely, I think from the big data point of view, and to the joy of Amazon, I think that we pull down a huge amount of data because we actually find the illegal links, we download the content from these illegal links, and then we actually use things like fingerprinting technology to, like Shazam, to actually identify that this is the infringing content we were looking for before we issue the notices. So because we do that, it's an automated system and therefore a lot more cost effective. So an artist can protect a track with us for just £1 a month. So with that, £1 a month, they remove all of those illegal links, and people say, oh, but is that a good price for it? I go, if you're paying £1 a month and you've removed all the anti-piracy out there and you're not making your money on that, you've definitely got the wrong product. There you go. Any questions, do come up and see me at the end. I'll be around for a little while, and yeah, thank you very much.